Alright, so we're going to look at doing some long division when we have a double-digit divisor. These can be kind of tough problems, but we'll try and break it down, make it as easy as possible. So first, if we want to remember the steps to long division, we would have divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and remember that we just keep going through these again and again until we run out of things to bring down. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example. And I'm just on our website here. And notice that on my options over here on the right, I did digits for the first number, I chose 4, and digits for the second number, I chose 2. The first number really could be, probably 4 or 5. Second number we want to be 2 because we want to practice dividing by a 2-digit number. And then also notice that here I've told the website to allow remainders because that's going to happen sometimes. So our first problem, and I will copy it and get it on my paint program here, but we have 4,138 divided by 67. Okay, so bringing that over here where I can do some scratch work. Before I even start, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my multiples of 67. Let's make that a little bit thicker, because this is going to help me a lot. So I'm going to do what's 67 times 1, 67 times 2, 67 times 3, all the way up to 67 times 9. So we're breaking it down into single digits. I don't have to do 67 times 10 or 67 times 15 or anything like that, just up to 67 times 9. So I'm going to pause here and do that, and I want you to do that too. Pause the video and come up with all those multiplication. Okay, so hopefully we can do that kind of quickly, but it's going to make it a lot easier to do this division, I think. Now that I have all that, I have 67 all the way up to 67 times 9, now I'm going to go ahead and draw my long division box, or whatever we call this thing. So 67 goes outside, 4,138 goes inside, and now we'll do the long division. Let's fix that 8 though first. That looks a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to start here. How many times would 67 go into 4? It doesn't. 4 is too small. So we look, how many times will 67 go into 41? Still, 41 is too small. Alright, how many times will 67 go into 413? That'll work. 413 cookies, I could divide those between 67 people. So I'm going to go over here on the right to my list. I'm looking for 413. I want to get as close as I can without going over. So I see 412, I see 469, and that's too big. So that means my winner is 6 here. 402 I'd have here goes in 6 times. Okay. And again, you don't have to put the 6 above the 3, but when you get to decimals, it's actually going to be better. You would need to put the 6 above the 3, so you might just start practicing that now. Alright, so going with my steps to long division, that's the division step. Now I'm going to multiply, but that's already done for me. Over here, I already know 67 times 6, or 6 times 67 is 402, so I can just copy that down. And now next step is subtract. Over here, after we multiply, now we subtract. So 413 take away 402, 3 take away 2 is 1, 1 take away 0 is 1, and 4 take away 4 is 0. I'm not going to write the 0. Next step is bring down. So we're going to bring down the 8. And that goes with the 11. Now it becomes 118. Alright, so back to divide now. After I bring down, I got to go back up to divide. So I'm looking for how many times will 67 go into 118? As close as we can get without going over. So here, 134 is too big. So 67, that's 1 is my winner here. So put the 1 up there. That's the division step. Now we're over here to multiply. And again, we already have it. Multiplying by 1 is easy, but 67 times 1 will give you 67. And subtract. 8 take away 7 gives you 1, and then 11 take away 6 will give you 5. We would bring down, or like in decimals, we would put a decimal point in a 0, and then bring down a 0, but we're doing whole numbers. So with nothing else to bring down, this is going to go up, and that is going to be my remainder. So 61 remainder 51. Remember that your remainder, well, let's fix that 5. Your remainder should always be less than your divisor. So 67 here, I should never get 67 or more after I do the subtraction, because that would mean I had enough cookies to give everyone at least one more. So that's my answer for the first one. 61 remainder 51. Let's go to the website and try it out. 61 remainder 51. 61 remainder 51 and check. And we got it. Alright, awesome. So let's try another one. Alright, so here's another problem. 7,603 divided by 12. And again, before I do anything with division, I'm actually going to do multiplication first. So multiplication facts with 12. 12 times 1, 12 times 2, all the way up to 12 times 9. So again, I'm going to pause to do this, and I want you to pause the video and also do this. But all the way up to 12 times 9. Alright, so I realized while I was doing this that some people actually have their multiplication facts by 12 memorized. It's okay with me if you don't. You can always do, you know, a 2-digit number times a 1-digit number. Break it down that way. But here we go. So there's my facts with 12 multiplication facts. So now I'll set up my long division. 12 goes outside. 7,603 goes inside. And we're ready to start dividing here. So 12 into 7 won't go. 12 is too big, 7 is too small. 12 into 76. That will work. We want to get as close as we can to 76 without going over. So over here I see 72, and then I see 84, and I go, no, 84 is too big, so 72 is what we get, and 6 is the number we're going to use there. So again, if you want to practice good habits, put the 6 above the 6 here. Again, in whole numbers it won't matter, but in decimals it will. That's your divide step. Now we're on to multiply, and we've already got it. 12 times 6 is 72. Next is subtract, we just get 4. Next is bring down that 0. Okay, so now we're back to divide after we bring down. 12 into 40, again, I can go over here. I want to get 40, but not more than 40. So as close as I can get. 36 is close, 48 is too much. So 3 is our winner this time. And then that's our division. Next we're multiplying 3 times 12. We already got it over there. 12 times 3, 36. Next we subtract. This one you're going to have to borrow, make that a 10. That's going to be a 3. You just get 4. And next is bring down. Okay, remember, keep going after you bring down. Got to go back to divide. We're not done here. That's not our remainder. We're back to divide. How many times will 12 go into 43? And again, we want to get as close as we can without going over. 36 is close. 48 is too much. So again, we get another 3. And again, we got to finish here, divide. Now we're on to multiply. 3 times 12 is 36 again. Then subtract. 3 becomes a 13. 4 becomes a 3. 13 take away 6 would give you 7. 3 take away 3 gives you nothing. Nothing else to bring down. Again, decimals, you would put a 0. Bring down the 0, but we're not doing decimals, we're doing whole numbers. So this goes up and becomes my remainder. 633 remainder 7. Okay, so let's type that in on the website. 633 remainder 7. And we got it. Awesome. Let's do one more. Okay, one more example here, and I did make it a little more difficult. I made the first digit, or first number 5 digits, but I think we can handle it. So again, we're dividing by 31. Very first thing I'm going to do is figure out my facts for 31. So 31 times 1, 31 times 2, 31 times 3, again all the way up to 31 times 9. I will pause and do that, and again I want you to also pause and do that all the way up to 31 times 9. Okay, there we go. I got all my multiplication facts with 31, so now I'm ready to start doing the long division. So we got 31 outside, and I might need to write a little bit smaller here with the extra digits, but we'll see. 451, okay. Alright, so doing our division now. How many times will 31 go into 3? It won't. 3 cookies, 31 people, doesn't work. How many times will 31 go into 31? Well, hey, that's nice. It's exactly 1 time. 1 is our winning number here. And again, for decimals, you would want to write the 1 above the 1. For whole numbers, it doesn't matter. So that's divide. Next is multiply. 1 times 31 will give us 31. Let me just erase this here. 31 times 1 is 31, and when we subtract, we get no remainder, no cookies left over, because we had exactly the right amount. So subtract now, bring down the 4. And we're asking ourselves now, we're back to divide. How many times will 31 go into 4? And it won't. So this is where you have to put a 0. Okay, now you could do the multiplication. I'm gonna show you here, but I would not. Don't write down these steps, because you're going to see that it's going to be a lot easier. If we divide, you say, okay, 31 goes into 4 0 times, multiply 0 times 31. We should be able to do that. 31 times 0 is 0. So you could write down your 0, but again, don't. Save time and space. And when you subtract, you're going to get 4 again. So really, as a shortcut, we can just bring down, write the 0, excuse me, write down that 0, but then just bring down the next digit. Okay, so bring down the 5 now, and now go back to divide. How many times will 31 go into 45? If we want to get close to 45 without going over, well, 31 is close, 62 is too much, so we get another 1. And then we've already done the multiplication. 31 times 1 is 31. Do the subtraction, we get a 4 here, a 1 here, and bring down that last digit. We're going to go back and divide one more time. So now how many times will 31 go into 141? Let's see, we want to get 141 without going over. 124, 155 is too much, so 4 is the winner here. So write down your 4. That's divide, do the multiplication. 31 times 4, we already got it, 124. Subtraction, got to make that an 11. That's going to become a 3. 11 take away 4 is 7. 3 take away 2 is 1. 1 take away 1 is 0, and I'm not going to write the 0. We should bring down, but we're out of digits. In decimals, you would put a decimal point, write a 0, bring down that 0. For whole numbers, we said this goes up and becomes your remainder. So remainder, that's supposed to be an R. Let's try again on that R. That's a little bit better. So we get an answer, 1,014. Remainder, 17. That many cookies, 31,451 cookies divided by 31 people. Each person would get 1,014 cookies, and then we would have 17 cookies left over that we would say, sorry folks, we can't give anyone else another whole cookie. Remember that remainder has to be smaller than your divisor. 17 is smaller than 31, so that checks out. So let's try that. 1,014, remainder 7. Let's try it on here. 1,014, remainder 7. And up. Let's see, I'm not sure why it's not recognizing it. Oh, because it was 17. And that's what I had. I just didn't put it in there correctly. Yeah, so 17. Whoops. That's right. One more time. 1,014, remainder 17. There it goes. Got to make sure we get all those digits. So there you go. That's long division. And doing it, in my opinion, the easy way. Although it might take a little bit of time to get these math facts in, but it makes your division a lot easier. One last thing I'm going to remind you of before I go is that you can check your long division with multiplication. So multiply to check if you want. So to check this, I would do 1,014, which is part of my answer, times the divisor, 31. I would do that multiplication. I'd get an answer. I'd have a bunch of work down here I'm not actually going to do, and then I would add the remainder. So I would get this number, and then I would say plus 17, and when I'm finished, I should get 31,451 if I'm doing things correctly. So just remember that you can always do that multiplication step. If you're on a quiz or a test, if it's important that you get the right answer, and you're not allowed to use a calculator, and you have time, you can multiply to check your division.